Hello, everyone, and welcome to This Week is Stupid for the 23rd of June, 2024. I'm here with my co-host, Ors. Ors, how you doing? How was your week?
Oh, it's been a long week and an interesting one. How about yours?
Mine was great. Like, right now, I'm streaming with my co-host who's having lag issues. Can you please stop the torrents? Just stop.
Am I still lagging?
A little bit, yes. Like, you had the robot microphone.
Really?
Now it's
All right.
fine. It's kind of like, it comes and it goes, I guess.
Okay, well, I mean, big storm outside, so maybe it's just going on.
My God, you're reminding me of when I used to play World of Warcraft. Like there was this guy that every single time the raid went bad, he found an excuse, and he was like, "Oh, it's very stormy outside. My computer is going to get electrocuted." And I'm like, "Okay, Toronto, weather, Toronto, sunny. Why are you full of shit? Banned from the guild." You can't tolerate that shit, man. If you want your guild to actually progress, you can't allow
Hey,
people to lie to you like that.
hey, man, 50 DKP minus, dude.
No, that was the ban from the guild type of thing. Because it was like, look, if you sign up for a raid, you're going to sit for the 4 hours. Like no one is forcing you to sign, but if you say you'll be there, you'll be there.
That's right.
Yeah, this is how you lead with an iron fist. Anyway, right. Speaking about competitive games, the Olympics in France.
The
Do you
Olympics in
watch?
France.
Yeah, do you watch sports? Are you a sports
Uh,
fan?
I like a lot of sports, but like I watch it only when it's convenient.
See, this is what I said in my video. I haven't uploaded yet, but like with video games, watching sports is kind of boring. Like playing sports, participating in sports is still fun. But like watching
hmm
on your television, 11 people chase after a ball, it seems monumentally stupid to me. And a lot of people agree because the ratings are dropping. The ratings are really low for most sports.
Well, I mean, take a look at how much content you get versus how much advertising, and people are turning away from advertising just in general. And when you're talking about the content you get on most of these, like, well, however they diffuse it, right? Be it on stream, be it on TV, the amount of just bullshit talking versus the amount of stuff you actually want to see is very, very minimal, right?
Yeah.
Like even football, with the amount of abysmal like content to advertising that it has more action than the Olympics does, right? So what's that got to tell you?
Well, I don't know. What is it?
Well, I mean, think of it this way, right? Like personally, like I'll use an example for me where when I watch the Olympics, I love judo, right?
Right.
I'm a big martial arts fan, so I love watching judo. And when I try to watch
The
judo,
the
even
women
on
or
like
the men? Like, because there's different.
oh, I don't care. I don't
So
care.
any type
Like
of
I'm
judo.
a big fan of, yeah, I'm a big fan of sumo. I'm a big fan of judo. It's like just in general, I like all sorts of like contact martial arts.
Okay.
Now, you go to like even like the CBC stream of like the Olympics, and that's considered usually a pretty good quality stream. It's got a pretty good content to advertising ratio, and you still get only like fucking 5 minutes of maybe watching a single match, and then you get like 7.5 minutes of either commentary that's like putting the actual event aside, and then you have a bunch of goddamn advertising,
Oh,
and
right,
you're
right,
trying to
right. No,
sit there
I can see
like,
this is what killed gaming. This is what killed E3. I was like, where are the trailers?
yeah,
Where are the games? You just see like some soy-faced journalists talking about shit I don't care, and I was calling it white noise. And then it's like
yeah,
2 minutes or 3
exactly.
minutes. But anyway, right?
Yeah, you get cake slice shit, right?
Yeah. So it's very boring. But what's fun is to see the politics surrounding the sports because every single time they go to another nation and they have to deal with the bullshit from that nation. Like for instance, the last World Cup, they go to Qatar and they have to deal with the bullshit from Qatar. It's like no alcohol, no American flags, right? Like no
Yep.
rainbow shit, none of that, right? Like, and I mean this is crushing, soul crushing for the Americans. Like, what do you mean I can't get like my pride flag into this? Like, just because it's in Qatar, I can't support like my favorite athlete showing my pride flag. No, it's like okay, so they had to deal with that bullshit, and then they went to China. Like apparently, the allegations were that the Chinese were starving the athletes. Take into account like an athlete, it's not like just the normal food a person consumes. Like they're at peak human condition, they require a specific diet, especially
Yeah,
like
they
when
need a lot of
performing like
calories.
Yeah. So like the allegations was that the actual athletes that were um Chinese, they were getting proper food, but everyone else was getting like less calories than necessary. I haven't looked it up, but it would be funny if it's true. And you have Nancy Pelosi going in there. It's like, look, I know that in America you're kneeling from the flag because we allow it, right? But like, you're going to China. It's a brutal country, brutal system. You're going there to compete. Do you remember that shit? Oh my fucking god, it was
Of course,
hilarious.
man, I remember that shit.
That shit was hilarious. Right. So now,
Like we memed on that shit for years.
Yeah.
Come on.
so now it's taking place in France. Oh, like Viva la France. What bullshit do you think the French government is going to put the athletes to go through?
I would say there's probably gonna be some sort of carbon tax bullshit for sure.
Yes.
Like,
Oh my oui. Yes. It's going to be.
Yep.
It's going to be no air conditioning to save motherfucking Gaia. You're going to benefit from the 36 degrees Celsius summer fucking heat with no air conditioning.
Yeah, that's just step one, V.
This is step one. Yeah, like no. Okay, chat. Think about this, right? Like you're participating in one of the most difficult events that mankind has to offer, right? The Olympics. Like, there's nothing bigger than that. You're participating in an event with some of the top people from around the world. You're already suffering from jet lag. Because, like, if you're from America and you're going to France, you're probably a couple of hours behind, so you can't get proper sleep. And now they force you to sleep without air conditioning as well to save Mother Gaia. It's like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, thankful. I mean, on the other hand, V, you got you like truth be told, the actual athletes arrive there at least a week before the actual event starts. So, next to rule that shit out, at least the one funding to do it. There's always some
I
arrive
can't hear you,
the
man.
mandatory 72 hours.
You're lagging way too
I'm
hard.
lagging again.
Yeah.
You gotta be
really hard now. American Outlier, hi Viadors. Hope your day is going good. It is, thank you. Another $2 from Christic. All hail Bobby Morrigan. Well, she would probably be a type of person that would remove the AC just to fuck with the athletes.
Yeah, she would. Yeah,
like if it's petty, yeah, like
that's
if
in a
it's,
wheelhouse.
Yeah, like if it's petty and causes a lot of inconvenience, she would definitely do it. Anyway, right, so, yeah, the athletes arrive 1 week before, but still, I do have a question for French people. Does Emmanuel Macron have air conditioning in the palace?
Oh, he definitely does. Versailles definitely has climate control.
Does he not care about the environment, though? It's like, I mean, okay.
I mean, that's the dial. What kind of question is that? Of course, he cares for the environment as long as he's not affected by it.
I think you know what? I think he just doesn't turn it on, right? Like we don't have any evidence. Yeah, we don't have any evidence that he turns on the AC. I mean, it's there. Like it has been grandfathered in, right? It's more expensive to remove it at this point, so it's just there. But he never turns it on because he cares about the planet.
Well, I mean, if he were more in the south of France, I'd be a little more skeptical of that because, like, shit gets pretty hot when you get down to the south of the border. But where they are, usually, I don't know. I don't think they'll need it too much.
Well, apparently, there's American companies that are now going to provide air conditionings that for the athletes. Like, if France isn't allowing it, they will actually deliver it. And fucking Germany, of all places. Like, Germany that voted green is going to provide mobile air conditioning as well.
Yeah, well, when it really comes down to winning the gold, they want all the best chances. But yeah, they're gonna bring in little roller units, and they're just gonna connect it out to like the windows and shit. So yeah.
Yeah. Dios mío. Well, at least
what a lot of work, right?
Yeah, I hope they will save the planet with this. So, let's see, what else happened? Oh yeah, there's a scandal with a man by the name of Dr. Disrespect. Have you heard about it?
Oh yeah, Dr. D, yes.
Dr. D, oh that's
yes, and
right,
the mysterious reason why he got banned, which we totally know, but we can't say anything totally.
I mean, okay, so no, we can't say why he got. Oh, right, the Twitch thing.
I mean, that was the meme back in the day. Now apparently we supposedly know. So all we need now is confirmation.
Yeah, like the thing is, this was my analysis at the time. He's streaming, right? And all of a sudden he looks like he saw a ghost. Like he turns white as a sheet. He sees something in the chat. And you know that he is done. Like you see his facial expression, like it is done. And after he closes the stream, it's revealed that he got perma banned. Now, in the stream itself, there's nothing offensive. He didn't do anything, and
Yep.
he also had like a contract of exclusivity with Twitch for like $1 million or so, and he lost
Well,
that.
yeah, not only did he have the contract that was just recently signed,
Yeah.
but he was their big icon, right,
Yes.
during the whole Mixer war, because Mixer was still a thing back then, right? And he was the big anchor weight that they were going to be throwing their entire presence behind, and then they turn around and they fucking ban him something like, what, a couple of days or a couple of weeks into his contract, a multi-million-dollar
Yeah.
contract on top of that.
Yeah. It's so fucking weird, right? And the allegations at the time was that he was talking with other streamers in order to start like an alternative to Twitch, and Twitch
Yep.
didn't want that. But yeah, he also, I think, like he lost his Discord sponsorship as well. Like it went with several bizarre
Yeah, well,
dropouts. Yeah.
it yeah, because like NDA or not, those companies are going to talk behind like
Closed doors.
the
Yeah.
curtain. These guys are going to talk, and I'm sure if the allegations were true, again, allegedly, right? If the allegations are true, of course, Discord is going to start running a quick search. Like they have a little robot that they can run on someone's profile if they really need to catch that
Oh,
kind
and
of
you
content.
think they found more content
And
there?
if he suddenly lost his partnership, for sure. I mean, companies they vet, they negotiate, they bring in lawyers, like just to get the partnership going. The act of getting the contract ready by legal, it in itself is tens of thousands of dollars of effort. Companies don't piss
Jesus.
away that kind of money for nothing, right?
Yeah. Okay, so what happens is that a couple of days ago, there's this guy that got fired from Twitch and has been very salty, and he is saying that the reason Dr. Disrespect got banned is because he solicited a minor, like doesn't go into the age, but just mentions like it's a minor
Hmm.
that he was having inappropriate messages with and wanted to meet at TwitchCon. Now, if this is the case, it's illegal,
Oof.
right? So, like, why wouldn't
Yeah.
the authorities get involved in it? Like, NDA or not, this is a crime. So, why wouldn't Twitch collaborate with the authorities?
Well, they can do you know that famous picture where you have three monkeys and one of them is covering his eyes, one is covering his
yeah,
ears, and one is
yeah,
covering
yeah.
his mouth, right? What you have is morality and plausible deniability. So what they have is an event which allegedly has it, but if they cut it off right there before they actually get legal involved, like it just say like, okay, we don't know whether or not XYZ is true. We don't want to hear anything about it. Right? Because they're
Yeah.
literally going to put up their hand and just say, talk to the fucking wall. Don't tell us anything. We don't want to even hear an explanation. We're just going to cut the contract off, or we're just going to quiet pay and go our separate ways due to whatever reason to keep it keep it from hitting the Streisand effect, right? If you
Yeah, but
don't bring it
if
up
it does
and
if
you
it
don't
does
try to
come
hide
out,
it,
no, I get it. But like, if it does come
yeah.
out, like it wouldn't reflect on Twitch negatively. It would reflect on Doctor
Oh yeah.
Disrespect negatively, right? Like Twitch is a guilty here because it's like, well, when they commissioned Doctor Disrespect, they have no idea, and afterwards, it's like, okay, so he's talking with minors in chat. Well, that's
Hmm.
on him. Like, why would it be on the company itself?
Well, on the other hand, them because it happened on their Whisper platform, they have a mandatory responsibility if they believe that there was a possibility of harm coming to a minor. They have a responsibility to report that.
Right,
But
right,
if they don't do it, that can reflect bad on
right.
them. So I guess
Exactly.
it'll
Because
really
this is,
depend how
yeah.
the story breaks.
100%, because this is what I'm saying now. Like, this looks bad on both now. Like, if it's true,
Yep.
right? Because we don't know if it's true or not. But if it's true, like, it would reflect bad on Dr. Disrespect, and it would reflect bad on Twitch, because it's like, why didn't
Hmm.
you make it public? Now, the interesting thing is the coincidence, the timing, right? This comes into a time when Dr. Disrespect is speaking out against, I think it's like LGBT kids. Like, he had a couple of takes against that some people didn't like. And there was Nick Merckx, which said that he doesn't believe that a man can become a woman, and Dr. Disrespect vouched for Nick Merckx, right? So, like, after this is happening, all of a sudden, like, years old scandal pops up, and it's just like
Yep.
no evidence whatsoever. And what's interesting, like, I see people from the other side of the fence going, it's like, well, how could you show the logs if it involves a minor? And I'm like, well, just censor the name of the minor. right?
Yeah, you
Like
censor the
it's like it's
identifying
not, yeah,
components.
like you censor any, yeah, you censor any identifiable information that can, link the person to the minors. So like, why aren't we doing that?
Yeah, like if you're really at that point where you're accusing someone of life-breaking of life-breaking crime, right? Like that's the kind of thing that gets you perma canceled. Like, don't leave it to speculation. Put up the goddamn proof or fuck off.
Yeah, so basically, I'm on the side at this point where I'm not going to think that Dr. Disrespect did anything because it's innocent until proven guilty. There's absolutely no evidence besides the word of a person that got fired from Twitch. And that person even tried to monetize this information. Like, they were like, hey, if I sell enough tickets, I will tell you why Dr. Disrespect got banned. And it's like, well, that's a little bit disgusting, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah,
if you're
that's
having,
really
like,
bad.
yeah, like if you're having this type of knowledge, which would be a public safety issue, like why would you hold it until you sell enough tickets, and then you present it to the public without any evidence whatsoever? Like it's just really sus.
That's just disgusting.
And
That's
the
straight
extra
up
part, like
disgusting.
there's another layer to this. Dr. Disrespect can't actually talk about it because he's under an NDA regarding the Twitch ban, right? So like anything regarding the Twitch ban, if you say that he got banned from Twitch because he was doing La Cocaína in the White House, he can't say that he wasn't. Because like anything related, yeah, no, seriously, like if you pin anything regarding to the Twitch ban on him, he cannot deny it in any way. He cannot deny
I
it. He
just
cannot
got a
confirm
mental
it.
image of Doctor Disrespect snorting a line with Biden on the on the
Biden in
Resolute
the Oval
desk.
Office, yeah. Like if you accuse him of that, and you say, like if you accuse him of that, he can say no, fuck off. Obviously, it is real. But if you add, that's what got you banned on Twitch, then he can't address it, right? So like
Yep.
really,
It
if you're
depends.
talking with
It
that
depends on.
disrespect, and you want to say something to piss him off, like Elden Ring is a shit game, and that's what got you banned on Twitch, he now can't address that. Like he really cannot talk about it because you framed it in such a manner.
Yeah, it depends on the terms, the limitations on the NDA. Most NDAs last 4 years because they have to have a finite time.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we'll see. I mean, I think one, two, three, four. I think it's been it's literally 4 years this month, isn't it?
Well, assuming it's 4 and not 5, I mean they could put whatever date they
Yeah,
want,
but
right? So.
most stick to four. Boilerplate NDAs stick to four. That's what most people usually lean into. So I guess we're going to learn soon enough. At the rate that this is percolating right now in the background, definitely something's going to have to get revealed because no one's going to be able to stay quiet on this anymore. Either the other guy's going to retract what they say, or probably a lawsuit's going to go down.
Yeah, like when I saw that, what went into my mind is like either this guy has some of the best lawyers in the world, or he needs to have some ironclad evidence to support his claims.
Yeah, because like he's setting himself up for like a real huge libel suit.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
not even funny, man.
yeah, like Dr. Disrespect can actually point out that it's interfering with his business. It's like, well, if you're
Yeah, very
damaging my
much so.
reputation, um, and
Like suddenly he gets like a 50, 60 concern troll bullshitters inside his chat, disrupting his goddamn chat flow. That's
yeah,
enough to claim damages.
yeah. So anyway, my theory on this is that I want to see some evidence. Like it's not enough for me to be convinced. Like no logs were
Innocent until
shown.
proven guilty.
Yeah, exactly. Like no logs were shown. No person came out and said, "Hey, there be that they're talking about." And the fact that Doctor Disrespect is under an NDA, so he can't even address this. It's way too convenient. So yeah, I'm pressing big X to doubt on this one.
So
All
now
right.
I hear you as a robot voice a little bit now, V. So I think it's our Discord call that's having the issue. But let's go on.
Probably. I mean, I don't see the chat complaining, so listen to this, right? Australia. Now, Australia, in my opinion, is a country that's at odds with China, but they're trying to become more and more like China for some fucking reason. Like when I
Yes.
hear authoritarian shit happening, it's either Australia or Germany. But in this case, it's Australia, and I just want to read the title, and you can tell me what's wrong with it.
Okay.
Australian state appoints official for men behavior change as outcry against violence towards women is rising. So
Wow.
there is a government
Behavioral
official.
adjustment.
Yes,
Behavioral adjustment for a specific demographic. Wow.
yes.
Wow. Are they going to call it a camp? Maybe a camp where they can concentrate on changing our minds, right?
What is the population of Australia, by the way?
couple of tens of millions.
Right. So the reason for this is what the politicians say. They must make Victoria safe because gender-based violence is plaguing Australia, and 31 women have been killed in the country so far this year.
31 women. How
31,
many men?
yeah. Now, obviously, any woman killed is one too many. But like, if we're looking at the statistics,
Yeah.
and you're telling me, this country with like 10 million people, this is the fatality rate for women, I would be like, well, like that's a safe country. I'm not afraid to bring my wife there.
Well, yeah. I mean yeah. First of all, like great message for your tourism.
Yeah.
Like your tourism bureau is gonna love that. And second of all, like wow. I mean, it's tragic that 30 plus women were killed, but that's
No, but like,
very, very small percentage of total people
yeah,
killed. My God.
I'm willing to bet that there are like Democrat cities that have a higher, statistic than that. But like, to create men's behavior change,
Yeah.
and to not realize the optics of it, it's so fucking bizarre. It's just bewildering. So, as Australian women push for action on domestic violence, a problem described by the country prime minister as a national crisis, one state has appointed a special official charged with improving men's behavior. And again, it's like the collectivist guilt. It's like, okay, so if I don't do domestic violence, why is my taxpayer money going to an institution to lecture me as a man? Like, if my neighbor, all right, like, let's put it like this. If my neighbor is abusive towards his wife, how is it my fault? Like, what exactly am I supposed to do? I can't even get into his house. If I get into his house, that would be a criminal offense from me? Like, just because I have a cock and he has a cock, that doesn't make us related. Like, he's not my child.
I mean, hey,
he's not my son.
let's devil's advocate this, right? From what I'm looking at, like while you were talking, I took a look at some basic demographics that came out. The last time this was measured was in 2023, and it turns out that from domestic violence, right? Like it's more than 50%, but it's like three on five. So like the other 35%, right? That still counts. Why isn't it like why don't we adjust people's behavior if they really want to make this group, right? And I don't support that kind of behavior adjustment bullshit. Why is it just men? Why isn't it just domestic violence? Like, what kind of selective bullshit is this? What kind of demonization?
Well, because one outrages and another one doesn't, I guess. But, like, I will tell you a story that I actually experienced. When I moved out to one of these communist buildings which have very thin walls, and you can literally hear what the neighbors are doing, right? And,
tenement, yes.
Yeah, and I was very innocent at the time, didn't really realize how the world works, and I grew up with a lot of Americanism and American ideology, so I hear my neighbors fighting, and it was like a weekly thing, right? I think like the husband was going out to see the horse, according to what the woman was screaming.
All right, go on.
Yeah, and one day, like I actually hear the violence happening. Right? It's like physical. So I called the cops.
Yeah,
I called the cops. And guess what happens? Like, the cops come on, and they're like, oh, we got a complaint. She refuses to press charges, and the cops leave. So, like, what more can I do? Like seriously, like, what can I possibly have done more? It's like, I did my due duty as a man, right? Like, there is nothing on earth that you can do. Like, no amount of men's behavioral change is going to fix that situation. Which is horrible for all parties involved, but like, especially for me, I couldn't sleep at night. I had exams in the morning, but I had to listen to the violence domestica. It is what it is.
You had to process that shit. Like that shit fucks you up, man.
It does. Like, unironically, it does, because it makes you feel helpless, and you generally don't like the sound of a woman crying. But like, what the fuck can you do more than this? I did everything.
Mm-hmm.
And if I would have gone there, like, first of all, I don't think I could have taken him, because he was much more Chad than I was. Let's put it like this. But it would have also been a crime, right? Like, it's his house. I don't have any right to go into his apartment. So.
Yeah, his house, his apartment, his castle.
Yeah, and it's like the government took it seriously. Right? Like, the government did investigate when they were called. But if the woman doesn't press charges, it's like, okay, so like, what exactly would you want more than that? And I guess, like, the social justice solution would be to fire the guy, right? Like, dox the guy and get him fired from his job. And it's like, okay, but now the woman doesn't have money. And he had kids as well. So, like, you're still not fixing the issue.
the social justice response to that would be, well, the police should have forced their way in to really evaluate the situation, right? Because they would immediately put this on the people who had the possible authority to do something about it.
Right.
But like in this case here, the police were straight up being responsible. They responded to a call and they weren't invited to intervene, so they stayed the fuck out of the problem. I mean, that's
Yeah.
it's now a civic and a personal issue. Not much more they can do about it.
Oh, but I got another example with what would happen if the police does force things, right? So this is a story with my cousin.
Yeah.
And my cousin was at the time living in Spain with her husband. And one morning, like they had the cat, and one morning she picks up the cat, and the cat manages to scratch her really nasty, like a huge gush across the face. And you know, like the
Oh
face
shit.
has a lot of blood vessels, so like there's now blood everywhere. I don't think it was the face. I think it was actually the neck. But it wasn't like life threatening or anything. It was just like really, really bloody. Now, my cousin it has this phobia of blood. I forgot the scientific term for it. But like when she sees blood, she freaks out. Right?
Yeah.
So like all of a sudden, you know, she picks up the cat scratches her, she drops the cat, and she sees like blood just dripping on the ground. So she freaks out, starts crying, starts screaming. And she's like, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. What
Yeah.
happened? You know?
Someone misinterprets this as
Yeah,
violence.
yeah. So basically, you know, the husband comes up and it's like, let me see if you're fine. And she's like, get away from me, get away, because she's freaking out, right? Like she's in the phobia. And
Yeah,
you know, like
she's going manic.
yeah, like eventually she calms down. She goes to a shower, and then she hears like into the bathroom door. So she's like, "What the fuck?" You know, just like goes around and like puts a towel around her. And when she walks out, like the entire fucking police station was there. It was like 10 police officers, right? They went in with 4 cop cars, and the husband was on the ground. You know, like that there was a guy with the knee on his back, handcuffed. And she's like, well, trying to now explain that, well, actually, it was the cat, and they didn't believe her. They wanted to see the cat. So now, like, imagine this, right? Like, you're in your bathrobe, and you're sitting there with 10 other police officers wanting to find the cat in an apartment, and the cat is freaked out as well. It's like 10...
Yeah.
Right? So, like, this is, I guess, like, the social justice approach. Right?
Mhm.
But, like... It still doesn't fix the issue.
No, it doesn't. The only thing that can fix the issue is someone who willingly stands up and says, "Yes, I need help," or at one point or another, "I've had enough." That's the only real thing that helps that kind of shit.
No, I mean, the problem isn't the thing is like a lot of people think that the government has this magic wand that can fix everything, right? And the answer is like no, it can't. Like you
real
can,
life is never that easy,
yeah,
never
like,
that binary.
Yeah, like you can take money from the taxpayer and then give it to some people that pretend to fix the problem. And this is what Thomas Sowell actually said, and it's one of my favorite quotes, is that people want the impossible, so the only way for people to get the impossible is to vote for liars.
That's a good fucking quote. Get that carved into wood.
Christica says, Romania may be murdered, but holy shit, Australia. Yeah, Christica is Romanian, and he doesn't want
Australia.
foreigners to come
Everything
here.
tries to kill you. The weather's trying to kill you. The plants are trying to kill you. The
government is trying to
spiders.
kill you.
Yeah.
World peace happens when women lead the world. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, sure.
Communism works. Soviet Russia just did it wrong.
Oh Lord.
Step 1, says CGR. 902, implement mass migration policy from cultures that like grape. Step 2, grape. Step 3, how their men do this. Well, to be fair, Australia is one of the countries that didn't actually import a lot of foreigners.
Yeah,
I think like
they're
one
actually pretty solid on that.
yeah,
Strangely enough.
Yeah, they had like the same problem with the UK where you have like the boats coming in, and I think they're the only country that actually opened fire on the boats. Like that was in the media. Yeah, like that shocked the media for a little bit. But guess what? After that, like there were no more boats coming. No people drowned. You know, like no more fatalities, nothing. It was just it was like 5 or 6 years ago, yeah.
I mean, Australia has the benefit of like a lot of its coast is completely uninhabitable. Like if you just arrive on the coast over there, it's not like you can just walk a couple of miles like in the US and then get to a city, right?
Yeah.
Like if you arrive on the north coast of Australia, you're going to be walking a while before you get to the nearest settlement, right?
And
So,
unironically, there's actual things that can kill you, from spiders to snakes to everything.
dude, you step on a cone snail and you're done.
Yeah. Like I had a content creator that was a friend of mine, Bering, and he was telling me that he was sitting on the shitter, and then like this poisonous snake comes through his legs, and I'm like, so what did you do? It's like, well, nothing. I just moved away and he allowed the snake to go about its business. And it's like, is that normal though?
Yeah.
Like, is that like it didn't come from the toilet? It came from a hole in the wall, but it was like behind the toilet. And I'm like,
Yeah, like think of it. It's a country where checking your shoes and tapping your shoes before putting them on is a mandatory thing. These guys are used to it. They just live different.
how close is the European Union Parliament to communist government? Well, recently, I think like what they're trying to do is to eliminate any type of private correspondence. So they're trying to pass more legislation that they have the right to listen into your phone, and all the phone companies are forced to actually harvest the data and give it to them.
Hmm.
So I mean, it's different. I think that like they're trying to emulate a little bit of China, just a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit of China. They're like, okay, well, what are the Chinese doing now? Why can't we do that? Like, why can't we have that?
I'm
Um,
curious to know if it's actually the EU or if it's just a company lobbying to convince the EU that it's worth it.
Oh, it's most likely lobbying. Like almost everything they do is due to lobbying. Like the idea that the EU actually does things because they want to do, no. Like
Yeah,
usually it's
because like
lobbying. Yeah.
whatever company's going to be collecting that data, they're going to have to put themselves into a pretty complex situation to maintain the data to EU standards because of all of those goddamn laws already.
Well, yeah, I actually looked into it. It's like, okay, so there is social media from the United States, right? Like the United States has the Facebook, the Twitter, and all this shit. And then you have
Yep.
China, and China has its own social media. I think like even Japan has its own social media. And then you look
Yeah,
at the
it
European
has
Union,
some.
and it's like, what does the European Union have? And it's almost nothing. And it's like, what the fuck? And then you look into it. And I actually spoke with some people, and they said, well, we did used to have like a rising social media in the EU. But then the
Hmm.
GDPR killed it because companies do not have the wealth to be able to be GDPR compliant.
No, it's very expensive. The replication, the reporting requirements, the handling requirements, all of that shit. Because all of that stuff has to be kept live to be able to be like requested anytime someone wants and all of that. The actual requirements for storage and throughput is actually very, very heavy.
Yeah. And, did they do it on purpose or they just didn't know? Because, like, for instance, even cookies are considered private information. And I'm like, come on, at least
Hmm.
make it reasonable. Like, don't harvest people private messages. Don't harvest people, like, personal data. But, like, cookies, like, oh, come on. It's just the default way the internet works. Like, you gotta put up with that shit.
Oh, but you'd be surprised what you can get in cookies.
I know, but like they're still like a requirement, right? Like you can't operate without
Yeah.
them. It's like anyway.
Yeah, but you can corral some of that information. But that's a whole other story.
Yeah, it is what it. The thing again is with the AI, right? So like you got AI now, which is coming, and obviously like countries are trying to do like a little race to see who gets like the best product. And you have like
Hmm.
China making their AI, and you have the United States doing their own AI. What does the EU do? The first nation in the world to have like AI regulation. So like they're not doing stuff, they're regulating it, and it's like
Yeah,
how
they're
I would describe
regulating
it.
before they actually get the
Yes,
technology started. It's I mean, everyone else is going to be going gung ho, so they're setting themselves up for hard mode for no reason.
oh no, they're just going to partner with like an American company, I think, which
Yeah,
is
probably.
yeah. But like as an EU patriot, if you can say it like that, I'm really upset that like okay, so why can't my country make anything? Like why can't we like why can't the American compete with us? Why is it that we're always stuck with using what else is on the market?
It's easier to legislate.
Yeah, I guess.
It,
Not ban the
it's the
com.
Hoa equivalent of governing.
Do most Romanians realize Trump would aid Russia? I don't think they would aid Russia. Especially like when you look at the U.S. foreign policy, it doesn't really matter who the president is. It's lobbying groups, and it's like very difficult for a president to just go like, "No, we're going to aid Russia."
Yeah, I would doubt Trump would be
Yeah,
directly aiding Russia. That would be that would be surprising even to me.
yeah, no. The only thing that he would probably try to do is the art of the deal. It's getting
Hmm.
European countries to pay more for NATO. So he will
Yeah, he
probably
wouldn't
come.
he wouldn't directly help Russia. He would make it he would attach conditions to the aid he would be
Yeah,
giving to Ukraine. Yeah.
pretty much. Like he would probably say something like, "Oh well, we're going to stop funding NATO," and then at this point, like all European countries would freak out, and he'd be like, "Okay, well, if you want us to keep funding, like let's see what you guys can do. Like pay your share." It's
Hmm.
probably what would happen. Personally, though, as a Romania, like a lot of people don't understand. Yes, I do support Ukraine, but at the same time, I do want the conflict to be over. Like no one enjoys the conflict, so
Yeah, especially when you're that close to it.
yeah, like I don't want this into a forever war, and people keep forgetting that the threat of nuclear option is still there. It's not very big,
Hmm.
but it exists. So like escalating things and seeing it's like what will happen is not necessarily a good idea. And also the concept of normalizing war, right? Like you don't want China to get any ideas with the Filipinos and start some shit over there while Israel is doing its thing over there. Like you don't want smaller conflicts
Yeah.
to keep popping up until it gets into an actual conflict.
That's a really good point, though, V, because there's a lot of people that fist thump on the desk saying, "Yeah, beat Russia, beat Russia," but it's like it's easy for us on the other side of the goddamn fucking planet, right? To
Yeah,
say that shit when we're not the ones actually sending people out there to die for us. The war's on TV, as
exactly.
it's on the
Oh,
internet now.
yeah, I was actually noticing that, and I was saying, well, hold on a little bit. It's like for a lot of people on Twitter, the war is like a football match, and it's so fucking disgusting. It's like you do realize like actual people are dying. Like regardless on which side you are, like you should treat it with a little bit more. I can't really say respect, but like a little more decorum. Rather than
Yeah,
it's like a football thing and it's like a commercial thing where you just slap a Ukrainian flag on a product and you want people to buy it. So fucking
yeah.
disgusting.
Hey, Meh in the chat has a good point there. Actually, like 23 out of 32 NATO members now pay the full 2% and more. That's a good point. I
Yeah,
just
no,
looked that
it is
shit
a
up,
good
and
point. Yeah,
a
I
lot
mean,
a lot of the nations that used to be derelict are now paying more than the 2%. So that's actually a very welcome change.
yeah, like if you're supporting Ukraine, you actually want more money to go into the conflict, right? So like you would,
Yeah, definitely. You want to be ready.
yeah. The thing that I
Like
have,
Ukraine ain't in NATO. Ukraine ain't in NATO, but everyone else that's around there should see it as a real problem.
yeah, the thing that I would say though is that when you look at the conflict, I genuinely like again I need to mention this a lot of times because I don't want people to think otherwise. But due to the geographical nature of the situation, I
Mhm.
gotta support Ukraine, right? Um, the thing with it, I don't think it can win because it's a war of attrition, and in a war of attrition, what matters is the manpower and the artillery ammunition. When it comes
Yeah,
to
the only
manpower, you look at the map and you realize who has more men. When it comes to artillery, after the Cold War, the Allies, and this is the United States sphere of influence, they kind of decommissioned most of their factories and most of their ammunition production. Meanwhile,
you could have used that excuse in the first like 2 years ish of the war, right? But we're
mm,
we're on round three. But the real thing to add to that one for the argument instead is that North Korea is outproducing everyone making shells. Like the Ukraine has something like 6 nations making artillery shells for it. Russia has North Korea, and North Korea is outproducing all of the nations
yeah,
that are
that's what I
providing
want. Yeah,
shells for the
that's what I
Ukraine.
was going with, right? So like the U.S. sphere of influence, like it decommissioned stuff, and it had a couple of years to try to regrow. But then you have like the Soviet Union that didn't decommission, like they kept producing, and now they have North
Hmm.
Korea as well. So like when you look at the arms race, the numbers just aren't there. Like there's just more artillery shells on the side of the Russians, and apparently like now they're using a technology to make like dumb bombs into smart bombs. Like someone explained to me how they're doing.
Gliders,
Yeah,
yeah,
they're
glider bombs.
recommissioning. Yeah, they're recommissioning stuff that
Yeah,
was yeah.
but what they're really aiming for, because like unless there's a tremendous breakthrough in the way that they do ground warfare, it's going to remain a push and shove war. The only thing that can really like get them back to territory that they lost is straight up bloodshed or a civil flip, making it so unpopular that either Putin gets flipped, good luck on that, or there's a big enough like like I guess you could say protests that they decide to recline from the war, which is also like good luck on that.
Yeah, I don't
So
see it
no,
happening. I
it's
mean,
gonna turn out to a bloodbath. That's what it's gonna be.
yeah, like if you have like an American Vietnam situation, right, where like the Americans are obviously superior in firepower and everything, but the war at home is lost. Yeah, like that could happen. But I think like
Yeah.
it would have happened up until now.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't matter how more advanced your bombs are. If you're only shooting 15 of these bombs and these guys are dropping like 1,000 shells on your head a day while they're crunching forward and losing hundreds of guys, they're still losing hundreds of guys with hundreds of thousands left behind them. You have maybe 40K units left on the field. Like at the end of the day, like your guys are going to get fatigued and they're having a hard time getting their own guys to like sign up for the military service, like especially from abroad. Like they had to cut away embassy services for some of these guys abroad that are not coming home to do the fighting.
Yep.
So they're already they're facing a manpower shortage on one side, while the other has a near infinite amount of people to throw at the problem. Even if they're not competent, it's still overwhelming numbers.
Yeah.
It's like DS9, Jem'Hadar versus the fucking Federation.
Haven't watched that Star Trek shit. But like I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing though is another thing that Russia did was in the early stages of the war, anyone that protested got drafted and put on the front
Yep.
lines. So like, if you were anti-war,
Either they were labor camped or they were
Yeah.
drafted.
So like this is another reason why I don't expect that you're going to see any massive protests anytime soon. No, the
No, we
worst-
haven't seen anything regarding protests, any
No.
major protests out of Moscow or anything like that.
No, like they actually used like Soviet tactics, KGB shit with this. Like they only drafted people from like certain communities that can't really cause much of an upheaval. Like they took people from prisons, they took people from ethnic minorities, they took people that were agitators, right?
Yeah.
And it ended up with like there's no protests around, and I don't expect them to be. So, the worst thing that can happen, as I mentioned, is a forever war or the possibility of escalation, right? So, like, if it
That's
gets
right.
to one of the NATO member states getting attacked, or if it gets to nuclear weapons being used, then it's really bad.
Yeah, or some sort of like collateral event, like say what is it, Zaporizhia or whatever? That's that nuclear plant that they keep poking around at.
Oh, right,
If that
right.
thing
Like another
explodes and it
Chernobyl would
spreads.
be, yeah, that would be
Yeah, if
horrible.
it spreads radiation because of a drop bomb and someone articles that shit and it gets plausibly passed, that would become quite an escalation. And
be
yeah,
fair,
Chris TK, I love those drone videos too, dude.
I actually
The
don't.
grenade
It's
drops
like-
sometimes are fucking crazy.
I actually don't, man. Like, it's war now is so dehumanizing, right? Like, it used to be you were with the spear facing another guy, and now it's like
Yeah.
a video game. I really hate when we get to war being as a video game. Like, someone behind the computer decides a life or death situation just by no, it's horrible. But yeah,
Yeah,
like if it was
I
a
got
movie,
desensitized to that shit a long time ago.
yeah,
so.
no, I get it, right? And that's the problem. It's desensitizing. Like you're watching it like it's a video game, and it's actually a person that has that happen to them,
Yep.
Anyway, let's look at what else we got. Oh, flying an English flag for the Euros could land you with £2,500 fine.
What?
The only time in human history when a nation isn't allowed to fly its own fucking colors is when they're conquered or occupied, or they went through like
Yeah.
a civil war or some shit. Like actually,
Or
even,
or an unconditional surrender.
yeah, like even in the United States, after the Civil War, the Confederate flag was still allowed. It's only recently that it's problematic, but like after the conflict, right? Like after they sue for peace and shit, you could still fly the Confederate flag without getting a fine from the government.
That's crazy.
So flying an English flag for the Euros could get you a £2,500 fine. For many football fans, now is the time to show their support for the Three Lions in Euro 2024 with the St. George flag decorating homes and cars across the country. You might want to stick a flag on the back of your car ahead of the next England game with Slovenia on Tuesday, but doing so hastily could land you in hot water. This is because faultily attached flags and decorations could be considered an obstruction. Officers can slap drivers with £300 fine on the spot for an unsecured load, and it could lead to a
Wow.
court appearance where the penalties can reach all the way up to 2,500. While driving with a flag is not an offense in itself, it could be committing one if the emblem came off and caused injury or damage. Okay, right, my bad. So I assume that this is due to the fact that they consider the English flag offensive, like culturally it is. But they're basically saying you can't attach flags to your cars because of safetyism. So a flag
Well,
of the size of
I
an
mean, we have these. I'm looking at the flag that you have on screen. We have the same thing here in Canada. Like, when, especially if someone gets closer, they're getting like to the Stanley Cup run, right? They're gonna put the flags like the Oilers on it or whatever the hell,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I can't tell you the last time something happened with those flags.
Yeah, I mean, no,
Like,
no,
this shit don't break very
yeah,
often.
like it's literally the Anglosphere culture of safetyism. It's like, well, if it can potentially may somehow theoretically happen, we have to ban it, right? So,
Wow.
yeah, like guardrails everywhere. Everything has to be micromanaged. Just, people have minus 50 IQ, so we need to make their decisions for them, basically.
Man, I want off this wild ride.
I mean, take into account that they banned smoking. Are you aware of that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they're in the process of doing that over here too.
the king, what is it, King Charles, right? Like, he comes out and he says, if you're not 18 up until now, you're never going to be able to smoke ever.
Yep. Anyone beneath an age cannot begin to smoke, and it's like, thanks for telling us which luxuries we can't legally consume.
Well, I
That's
mean,
fucking great.
It's even worse than that, right? Like, you're creating a black market where the product can flow freely. So, like,
Yeah.
I can buy it because I'm over 18, but like someone that just became 18 can never buy it, right? Even though we're both adults.
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make
Like,
sense,
it's,
right?
It's prohibition per age.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Know. How are you even going to enforce it? Like, literally, all I gotta do is like flip the cigarettes, right? So I buy them, and then I sell them like double the price for people who can't buy them, even though they're adults. It makes no fucking sense. But anyway, the interesting thing is, like, smoking was actually going down, right? Like, normally. Now you're making it edgy. Now you're making it like a status. It's like a social status.
Yeah,
to smoke,
you're making
right?
it a rebellion point now. You're like
Yeah.
making it restricted gives it allure.
Yeah, it even has a load attached, right? And it's like, you're going to look at the older generation who just walks around smoking because that's what the fuck they want. And then you have, like, the new generation that they can't touch a cigarette, even though they're adults. It's like, what the fuck? And it's... All of it started because when the legislation was passed that you can't smoke in your car even if you're alone, British people didn't stand up. That's the issue. Like, right there, it was like, no, actually, government, can you fuck off from my car? Like, it's my car, alright? Like, if I'm driving alone, there's no kids in my car. There's nothing in my car. I should be able to smoke.
No one else is being affected. Why am I being restricted?
Yeah, literally. Do you know that they also passed, like, some bizarre legislation with pornography where, like, there was a list of things that they don't like, and one of them was, like... See, I even found out about fetishes from the British government that I didn't know existed.
I mean,
midget porn.
Did
you know that's a fucking thing? Like, I was like, what the fuck is midget porn? Like, is that real?
Well, you see, in what I think that is that, the new Rings of Power was so bad that they got like collective, like, temporal Harfoot syndrome, and they were like, no, we got to ban that shit before it gets created. But unfortunately, they weren't successful. We still got Rings of Power.
I think, like, people were just angry over Rings of Power plus privileges. Like, oh, goddamn hobbits! Goddamn hobbits! I need to see them getting
Fucking
shagged.
Harfoots, man.
Caning was another one. And then, but the legislation was written, like, because I covered it on my other channel, and, like, the way it was written was so bizarre. It was something like,
It was very direct, not objective compared to other legislation.
Yeah, it was like, you can't spank someone with your bare hand, but you can spank someone with an object. So, like, if you had, a fly swatter, and you gently spank someone's tushy, that's allowed. But if you use your hand, it's not. And I was like, what the fuck? What about that?
What? So crazy, man. Like, this is the stuff they waste time on rather than fixing problems that actually affect people.
Man, unironically, like, this is my, what I told Dev, is that the government right now, like, we already have all the legislation required for a functioning society, okay? We don't need any more. Anything else that's coming up is to fuck me at some way or another. Either restrict my liberties or make me pay more taxes. And so far, I haven't been proven wrong. Like, I'm sure at some point the legislation will pass, and I'll be like, you know what, like, this is actually good. Like, this is good that they passed. But no, like, everything they pass is either that I need to pay more taxes or restrict someone's free liberties a little bit more, just a little bit tighter.
Yeah, ratchet a little bit more closed, just a bit tighter.
Oh, listen to
Squeeze
this.
it.
My diversity is saying that in the UK, sitting on your partner's face is illegal. Now,
Damn.
I don't think they enforce that. But, like, again, like, why is the government so concerned with people's sexual activities? It's so fucking bizarre. It's just...
Why is the government so specifically focused on that activity of all things? It's like,
Yeah,
what,
because, like,
did someone...
like, think about it, right? Like, you already
You know what?
have...
That's a legislator who went to like a burlesque house in like Leipzig or something somewhere, and he didn't like his experience. Maybe he paid for the face sitting and he didn't pay for the extra, but he got the extra anyway.
But I don't know, but it's like, okay, like, if you actually hurt someone during sexual intercourse, like, there's already laws against that, right? Like, you don't need...
Yeah, that's already covered. Like
Yeah, like,
anything non-consensual is already covered. So what are these specific, like, what's the focus on these specific
like,
either these
literally,
fetishes or
it's
these
like,
acts?
okay, well, we want to have sex. Can you bring the government's code, like, see what's allowed and what isn't? It's like, oh, no face sitting. Oh, shit, well, I guess we can't do that. How do you prove that? Well, you know, like, these are some laws that I guess exist, but they're not enforced, right? Like, I suppose if someone files a complaint, or, you know, if a video cassette leaks with like a public person doing it, maybe.
Well, I don't know, man. I mean, take a look at what they did with Count Dankula. All they need is something you did way
Yeah.
the hell back, and someone takes it all out of fucking context.
Yeah,
and suddenly
exactly,
you're
right?
in trouble with the law.
Yeah, like the hate speech laws existed, right? But like when people read them, it's like, well, they're not going to apply them because it's too fucking absurd. Until someone releases a video that goes viral, and then they
Yeah,
get
just
applied,
takes
right?
just the wrong Karen with the right shrill voice will get you into a lot of trouble, man.
Right, Karen. Anyway, I know that you gotta go. I'll still entertain the chat for a little bit more. But
Oh
thanks
yeah, the tabletop game's starting soon.
yeah, thanks for stopping by, and we'll do it again next week.
Hell yeah, V.
You know what? Face sitting creates hard men.
Bet on that one, that's for sure.
Hard cocks create weak men.
Damn right. All right, well, you take care, V. Take care, chat. We'll talk to you again next week.
Anyway, right? Thank you. All right, Chad,
Take care, dude.
you're with me alone now. Let's see what else happened this week, because I had a collection of news, didn't go through all of them. This one is interesting. Biden's 42.5 billion rural high-speed internet plan gets stuck in red tape. So apparently, like, this was part of like the infrastructure, I think. And they're like, oh well, we collected all this tax money in order to make better internet, right? Like, are you against better internet? Of course not. So what ends up happening is that they can't do the better internet, even though they already stole people's money through taxes, because environmentalism. Right? So, like, it's interesting that when they drafted the bill, they didn't take that into consideration. Like, they didn't realize, oh, well, actually, you know, we can't do our plan because of the environment. No. Instead, they collected the money, and now it's like, oh, well, we can't because environmentalism. Thank you, Sero. I will try to keep up the good work, and thank you for being a member for more than 8 months. Right, there's one more thing that I wanted to talk about, because this is actually in the thumbnail. Orcs, right? So, I noticed this interesting thing where you get like all of these orcs being drawn by people associated with Dungeons and Dragons, and there's like something missing from them, right? And I already discussed it. There's a lot of debate around it on the internet about this particular picture, and many people are calling this picture to be soulless, right? It's like the orcs just look like humans, basically. Like, it's not fantasy anymore. It's just like people cosplaying, right? But when you look through other pictures, you notice a very interesting pattern. So this is what I want to show you now. The reason that it triggered me so fucking much, and it triggers many other people, is due to the fact that it's like a corporate environment, right? Like, everything is sanitized to the point that it looks like a stock photo, right? It's like a... And I already couldn't articulate it I saw it in another video, and I made a commentary about it, but like I just couldn't articulate it. And what I wanted to say is that all these characters, like if you change the background, they fit anywhere, right? Like it was I think on some Dragon Age characters that they have like a torch and they're going in, and I was like, okay, if you put the sci-fi background, they fit. If you put a medieval background, they fit. If you put a modern background, they fit. It's like if you take these characters, like if you put an office behind, right, and you change their clothing, they fit. If you put a spaceship, like a cantina, like a Star Wars cantina stuff, and you change the background, they fit. Like, they are so loose because it's a stock photo. It's like one of those photos from a website that you pick up and you put it at the thumbnail on whatever article you're writing about, right? And as you're looking through them, you notice that, right? It's literally this, right? It's literally this. And look, like there's no more magic, there's no mystery. It's just like sanitized bullshit. Nothing here catches your eye. It doesn't drag you into an adventure. You don't feel like meeting these people. It is so generic to the point where it is insanely bland. Right? I mean, and when you see this, everything makes sense. Everything makes sense. And it's why it's triggering people, because people really, really hate their wage cage. They despise their wage cage. And what this does is reminds them of the wage cage. Everything is like corporate America. Like it's like your hobbies now, your entertainment is like being at the workplace. Hello V, as a Mexican, I find those orcs offensive. Well, I mean, do you know? Like the thing wasn't about offensiveness, right? Like no one really cares. Whether or not the character in a video game is offensive or not, right? The issue was like for the grifters to justify why they need to get a paycheck. That was it, right? Like they will say, oh, people find it offensive. And unless the media reports that you find it offensive, it doesn't exist, right? So like, even if all the Mexicans in the world would find it offensive, unless Kotaku writes an article, it just doesn't happen. And if Kotaku writes another article saying that the Mexicans love this, then they will go by that. So it doesn't really matter what you as a person find or don't find offensive. That just blew my mind. It's all for the wage cage. It is for the wage cage. It's yeah, like it's a huge epiphany when you figure it out. It's like, why does it trigger people so fucking much? It's literally American corporatism. It's really that, right? It's literally the office. I mean, look at this character, right? Like this owl that's like thinking. What exactly is the emotion that it's implying? What exactly is it trying to accomplish? What is it doing? Why? Tell me something about the character just by looking at it, and the answer is you can't. Like there's nothing you can tell about this character. Same with these other two. It's so bloody soulless. Let me see if I can find some actual official artwork, because they released some, and you will see what I mean in a bit. There's here we go. So this is the actual official artwork, right? This is not AI generated. Look at this one, right? Another thing that they're trying to make, right? They call it acceptance. And the idea is like people already accept individuals in wheelchairs. Like this is not something that doesn't exist. Almost every society tries their best to accommodate people with wheelchairs, because anyone can become stuck in a wheelchair, right? Like all of us can go into a car crash at some point, and we end up in a hospital and we wake up that we need a wheelchair. Or you go old and you get some disease and right? Like, it's not that society has this irrational dislike towards people that are in a wheel. Like, this is bizarre, right? But like, for some reason, corporate America decided, no, we need acceptance, which is like already exists. Like, yeah, sure. I mean, right? Like, that's how they got in. But what they're trying to do is to make people in wheelchair badass. And they also want to make you accept that they're badasses. And if you disagree, it's like a Rorschach test where you're an asshole. And it's like, well, trying to make people in a wheelchair like badasses is like trying to make a guy that can't speak like a mute person, an opera singer. Like there are certain limitations by nature that kick in, and even though we really wanna, you just can't do it. The only person that's a badass in a wheelchair is Charles Xavier. And the reason for him being a badass is specifically because it's not absurd, right? Like, you can't have this guy in a wheelchair that is capable of performing magic or capable of mind controlling and shit, right? Like, that's fine. But you can't have, like, this fighter, this barbarian, and that's literally what they're going for. They're going for the rogue in a wheelchair. They're going for the barbarian in a wheelchair. They're going for the fighter in a... Like, come on, like, you know, there's a difference between suspending your belief and absurdity. And that's what they're constantly trying to do. There are, like, no, seriously, like, you can make characters in wheelchairs. Like, you can have a sniper, I think, like, in, what was that game? Metal Gear Solid, right? Like, one of the bosses is a sniper. He's being moved around in a wheelchair, so you can do that. Dr. House in Fallout, like, Dr. House isn't even in a wheelchair. He's, like, in a completely enclosed environment, right? Like, he's in a cage that supports his biological function. So, like, you can make characters, but, like, they're not even trying that, right? Like, they're trying to go for the absurdity. They're trying to become as absurd as possible, and they also want to say that if you don't agree with them, you're a problem. And again, like, everything is not offensive. Like, look, you got this dark elf and this high elf together, right? It's like, it's so corporate. It's so bloody corporate. It's, like, there's nothing here that is enchanting, right? Like, if I pick up a picture of all D&D, you immediately get dragged in. You immediately want to play it. But, like, look, like, this is a barista, you know? Like, they're not... Oh my fucking god, is it literally the same tattoo? Holy shit, this is lazy as fuck. But the thing is, they're not fantasy races anymore. Like, they're not dwarves with their separate culture, which drags you into them, and you want to know the lore, you want to know how they interact with each other, you want to know what their community is like. It's literally just like they're humans. Like this scene, again, generic as fuck. You take the background and you change their clothing a little bit, and they can be in California. They can be in a medieval setting. They can be in a house. Like literally, you just take the characters, you swap their clothing and background, and they fit absolutely everywhere in any setting. And this is why it's so generic and bland. And the problem is, like, most games are copying this, right? So, like, all the games are generic and bland. Like, here is the difference in order to understand what we're talking about. This is how Warcraft used to look like, right? Like, it's had its identity, it's in the name, it's Warcraft, right? Like, you have the monsters coming through the Dark Portal, and you have, like, all of the people of Azeroth banding together trying to stop the invasion. And here you have Warcraft 2023, which is stock photos. It's like, literally, the orcs are just like random humans. They don't have an identity, they don't do anything, it's like a cosmetic change. And the game doesn't have any identity. It's like this bland stuff that all other games are making. Now, I want to show you the coup de grace, which is how much does this shit cost. And I know I saved it somewhere, so it will take me a little longer to find it. But basically, if you want to get the bundle with all of these books, like the player handbook and everything else, $220. And I was like, what the fuck? Yes, like $220 fucking dollars, chat. $220 for the handbook. Like, I want to point out that when I went to med school, I had to buy books, right? Like, it's required, and the teachers wanted you to see that you didn't pirate the book. Sorry, my bad. It's not $200. I'm giving fake news and misinformation. It's $180, right? So no, my bad. Holy shit. No, look, I'll tell you what it is. The total price is $240, right? But if you get the bundle, it's only $180. So if you don't get the bundle, you're missing out, chat. It's the fear of missing out that will keep you glued to the company, making sure that you get all of these beautiful handbooks, which, I don't know, maybe they have like 60 pages each or something like that, right? Like, totally you're going to get your value worth. Holy shit, look at this. My god, like, isn't it disgusting, right? So the quality of the product goes down, and the price goes up. This is magic. Like, this is the fantasy magic that only Grand Wizards of the Coast are capable of performing. I don't know how it's possible. Like, no, seriously, how is it possible that as the product goes shittier and shittier, and the people working it have less and less talent, the price for the thing goes higher and higher? And I was told that more people play D&D now than ever before, right? And they're a leftist company, so leftist people care about marginalized voices and the poor, right? Like, if you get an ID to vote, if you ask people to get an ID to vote, it's racist because they can't afford an ID. And now it makes sense why they can't afford it. If you have to spend $240 for your entertainment, yeah, you probably will have 20 to buy an ID. I understand. Finally, it makes fucking sense. It took me a while, but eventually it clicked on. I don't even know what to say, man. Like, this is beyond ridiculous, right? So, there's no justification for this. And by the way, this is just the player handbook, right? Because if you want to buy the other shit, oh, it's extra. So it's still probably trying to compete with Warhammer 40k at the most expensive hobby in the world. And it's all bland and genetic. It's just... whatever, man. It upsets me for two reasons. You know, as a future father, I do wonder, like, what my son is going to do for entertainment still. Like, there's 18 more years until entertainment can catch up. But, like, I definitely think that what my son is going to get is he's going to get a laptop with no internet access. And I'm going to just buy him old games, and he's going to play those. He's going to play Prince of Persia. He's going to play, he's not going to touch Mario, because, no. No, it's probably like the games I grew up with. Yeah, we're going to start slow. We're going to start with platformers. We're going to go through Prince of Persia, some Sonic, you know, like that type of shit. And as time moves on, he's going to start playing more advanced games. Baldur's Gate 2, Neverwinter. Yeah, I'm going to make sure that he gets a proper education. But making sure that the hobbies that your kid goes into is just as important as his actual education. Yeah, the original StarCraft, like, literally everything that I played, he's going to play as well. It's going to be like, there was a movie, I forgot the name, Cloverfield. But there's like a specific Cloverfield that was done, which is inside the bunker. So, like, the person is trapped inside the bunker and has no idea what's outside. And, like, they're being told that there's an alien invasion outside, but they have no way to figure that out. And when they get out, there's actually is an alien invasion. But the whole thing is kind of like that, you know? Like, my kid is going to live in a world where they think that new games don't exist. It's only old games, you know? Only the ones that I grew up with. It's going to be Indiana Jones from LucasArts point-and-click adventures. Monkey Island. You know, like that type of shit. What if he doesn't like computer games? I will disown. Kidding, though. But, like, what type of individual doesn't like computer games? Like, they're specifically tailored to be addictive. If he doesn't like computer games, I'll donate him to science to see what makes him tick. You know, like, scientists need to find out, like, what aspects of the human gene makes a person not addicted to video games. Now, Leisure Suit Larry is not for kids. Like, Leisure Suit Larry is, like, what, 16, I think? I'll have to check the age rating. What if he likes progressivism? Well, it is what it is. I mean, he's going to have a very difficult time arguing with me nonstop. You know, like, just constant arguments. It is a possibility. Like, there is the rebellious teenage era, right? So, like, the age gap, as they call it. Like, eventually it will come to that. Like, hopefully it's not going to be progressivism. But to be honest, like, you don't know how long progressivism will last. Like, in 18 years, there may be completely different political cultures, right? Like, political ideologies that don't even resemble anything we have today. I mean, just think about how the world was 18 years ago. And try to predict how it's going to be 18 years in the future. Like, there's no way you can know. But the idea that, yeah, like, the kid is going to have disagreements and ideological differences with the parents, that's almost guaranteed, right? It's... hopefully you were a good parent up until that point, so that they feel a little bit remorse, you know? Get Manhunt? Oh, when he gets 18, that's the game he's going to get from that. It's like, congratulations, son, you're 18 now, you can play this. Manhunt. And it will be like, guess which company made it. Anyway, I'll end it here. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for the super chats. Hopefully you enjoyed this this setting, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Take care.